Ashley Davis Marshall, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast.
Hello. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking some time out of your day. I'm sure you're super busy as an ECD, Executive Creative Director at the Martin Agency.
Yes.
Is that the title?
I'm also the head of social.
Boom.
And Executive Creative Director at the Martin Agency.
Incredible. So appreciate you taking the time. We've been here interviewing a couple folks. The goal of these conversations that we're having is to understand and break down what it's truly like to work at the Martin Agency today. Because I've interviewed a lot of people at a lot of different agencies. One thing I understand is agencies tend to shift every couple of years naturally, for whatever reason it may be. So it's good for us to know. We know the name of the Martin Agency. We know you guys are located in Richmond, Virginia. But now I want to get your take on what it's like to work here and your experience, your advice.
Yeah.
And all that fun stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think people often ask me, like, in interviews and whatnot, what I love about the Martin Agency. So I have a bit of a canned response, and I'll try to make it sound natural. But
okay. How can we kind of move that apart a little bit, stir it up? I don't. That's the interviewer's job. So I'll think on that. But first, let's just talk about your role as an executive creative director and head of social. Let's break that down. If you can talk about any clients, great.
Yeah.
If we get yelled at by anybody, we can take it out in post.
Okay, sounds good. Fix it in post. So my day to day is often I work with creative directors and creatives. I like to work with strategists quite a bit. So I'll often be working on bigger picture, like where do we want this brand to go? What do we want this brand's tone of voice to be, especially in social when it comes to that realm. And so how do we staff accordingly to get, to land that plane where we want it to land? And who are the right people to put on certain briefs and in certain rooms? And that's a lot of what I do, is putting the right people in the right places at the right time.
It's like a puzzle.
It is.
Yeah. Each, new opportunity, maybe client or brief that you're working on is kind of like a new puzzle, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you fit people in. And,
it's kind of a fun thing to do. It's, getting to know people is really important. Learning what they like and what they don't like and what gets them excited, what lights them up. I think.
How do you find that out?
I talk a lot. I am a big talker. And honestly, I'll often just kind of start a conversation, whether it's like a check-in, a creative check-in, with just, kind of shooting the shit for a little bit and just talking about what movies you've seen. And then, again, it's like I learn little things along the way. I might learn like, oh, you love the Grateful Dead. And lo and behold, we have something that I think would be really great for
So you're
somebody of your mind to
you're kind of building a little background on the folks, so their strengths, their superpowers.
Yeah.
What are you interested in and stuff?
What am I interested in?
Yeah, what do you like?
Oh, I love...
What movies have you seen?
What movies have I seen lately? What was the last movie I saw? I seem to watch John Wick every day because it's on TV all the time, but that's not really my interest. It just seems to be on.
Everybody dies. He kills everybody.
Yeah, he's a badass.
It's crazy.
I love watching those fight scenes. I have to say, there's I live vicariously through that. I love...
Everybody dies in that movie.
Yes, definitely the dog.
Whoa! Spoiler.
That's like the main point of the movie.
Is that the first one?
I think that's the first one.
I thought that was the third movie.
No, I think it's the first one. I'm pretty sure it's the first one. They all bleed together.
Reveal that. He does not. I'll tell you what. He does not like when that happens.
He doesn't have a cat. I'll tell you that much. So I really love. I got during the pandemic. I did what everybody did. I got really into the Marvel universe and really did a deep dive into that. And
do you want to spoil anything?
I'm not going to spoil anything on that, but I will say that I'm excited to see Agatha All Along. I haven't started watching that yet. I was a big WandaVision person. I haven't really been able to. We got a new puppy recently, and I just those two things don't go together. Binge watching and a puppy that has to go out all the time. But I'm excited about that. I haven't seen any movies lately. I haven't been to concerts,
music.
Well, I'm going to see Conan Gray in in next week
Okay.
at Madison Square Garden with my 13-year-old daughter.
Nice.
Um,
Who is this human?
Conan Gray.
Yes.
He is singer-songwriter. I believe he became popular like over YouTube, like they all do these days. I think
Social,
so.
which we'll talk
Social,
about.
yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
I really just she introduced me to his music, and it's really, really cool. He's like, it's some really great lyrics, some really great beats, and then his most recent album like really touches on a lot of genres of the '80s, so you can feel the influence of the '80s quite a bit.
Like that.
So I'm kind of pumped. There's less synth music. There's like dance, like '80s dance kind of beats. But I'm kind of pumped to get figure out what we're going to wear to the concert. Like,
Yeah.
eye makeup and everything is kind of a big deal. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. And then Chapel Roan, someone
The
that,
best.
I dig quite a bit. Again, my daughter introduced me to her like several months ago. I feel very fortunate to have a Gen Z, Gen Alpha kid in my world because
it helps.
It keeps me on the pulse.
Yeah, I'm with it. Good to know. So you kind of do these like check-ins with your creatives that you're over and get the background knowledge, and then you're able to help assign them and help them succeed most likely by putting them on opportunities that they would thrive in.
100%.
But of course, there's not, sometimes you have to work on stuff that
it's not always going to be
your
like
cup of tea.
Your cup of tea. That's right.
Yeah.
I think you can find a link to something that you're interested in just about any brief out there, though.
Important, because even if I don't like something or seemingly I'm not a fan of that, let's say I'm certainly not good at saving for retirement. I wouldn't probably want to work on that type of account, but you kind of have to find.
Well, that's exactly why you probably would be great at working on that type of account.
Now we're talking.
It's kind of like teaching math. I think the best math teachers are actually probably grew up being terrible at math because they understand the sort of mindset of the person who's struggling on the other side. I think when it comes to like retirement and things like that, there's a lot of people who, are the experts, and, those of us who maybe aren't the experts are a little bit intimidated by those people. And the more we can understand that like the majority of the world isn't an expert, I think you can kind of form an alliance with the target.
I'm with you. So advice then, when you're working on briefs that, might not be your cup of tea, what do you say to those folks out there?
You have to like immerse yourself into the mindset of the consumer. That is like priority number one. Like, what is the perception that people have of this brand? What do people think? What do people not think about it? What people think about the competition? I think you're going to find some really interesting insights to tap into if you look at it that way. But I think it's also really interesting to put your head in the mindset of your marketer that you're working with. What's keeping them up at night? What are their business problems? Why, what are they worried is going to happen and jeopardize their livelihood?
Can we talk high level? Like it doesn't have to be with clients at the Martin Agency, but what have you noticed throughout your career? What are the consistent themes that keep the brand side folks awake at night?
Well, it's just normal stuff that would keep anybody awake. It's like, is this business going to continue to thrive? Are we going to continue to be able to make money in this business? Am I going to grow this business? And if I can't grow this business, or it starts to devalue in any way, I think, then my job's on the line. I think this is just very normal fears that anyone would have
throughout your career.
Everyone seems to have those fears. I think the ones who can have those fears but separate them and understand that not letting those fears get in the way of making good work or making good decisions that are going to break through, I think those are the best marketers out there, the ones that can kind of separate the two.
Right. But I feel like, and correct me, and I would love to kind of simmer here. If clients are coming to the Martin Agency, you have this brand, this agency has this brand for a long time of being like this creative powerhouse, effective as well, but really, like, aren't they coming to expect bold ideas? Like, is that true?
Oh, of course, that's true. I think it's easier to expect and anticipate bold ideas than it is to be faced with bold ideas and having to make that decision.
Right.
Because that's an intimidating place to be.
Mhm.
Like, you don't have a crystal ball, and you can't be certain with absolute certainty that this is going to work, and that I'm going to be, you know, a rock star at my company. Like, it could go the other way. I
Mhm.
think there's a fear that it could go the other way, and I think when you live in that fear and you are sort of paralyzed with that fear, you don't end up making those bolder decisions that, those are the ones that could go either way. Those are the ones that, if they go successfully, those are the ones that, like,
Yeah.
take your brand to, like, way far.
Yeah. Are there any that come top of mind in your, it doesn't have to be at the Martin agency, but in
Yeah,
your career where
yeah,
a client was like, let's do this. It's bold. We don't know what's going to happen, but we like it. And it
yeah.
worked.
I mean, I think there's like, I will say that, while I didn't necessarily work with George Felix at KFC, but I did hear legend of him all the time.
Mhm.
He was a bold marketer. I mean, he still is to this day. He made the decisions, on the fly to do some of the cool things that they did with the Colonel, uh, and making weird bunkers and cat videos, and just continually putting out interesting content that most people would say, what is this? What relevance does this have to do with my brand? But instead of asking those questions, he saw and understood that just getting talked about was going to actually land that brand into the zeitgeist of
Sure.
culture. So, I think he stands out quite a bit.
Gotcha.
And
I can
then,
kind of hear then that philosophy disseminating into like your views on social media and like how how you're taking those values and trying to incorporate it into the social team here at Martin.
yes, I
Yeah.
mean, I think, my philosophy on social is you want to have as many at bats as humanly possible. Like, put out as much content as you can, because some of it's going to rise to the top and some of it's going to sink and disappear. And the stuff that rises to the top, you can just throw gasoline on it and make it even better and
Yeah.
more talked about. I mean, look at Solo. That's a prime example of a social experiment, just to see, like, what's going to happen here,
Yeah.
and it blew up.
Oh yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, one of the very few campaigns that have made it into my friends group text,
it's
where they
awesome.
sent in that screenshot of Snoop Dogg announcing he's giving up smoke, and I'm like, "That's an ad. That's an ad. I know that's
I know
Martin
it.
Agency." So that one, I was like, I love when that happens. The only other time that it's made a group chat, and we're younger guys, and was the Shoozy, the beer koozie with Miller Lite. They did that collab. Like, one of our friends was like, I got to get this. It was
That's
just like
cool.
kind of like one of those gimmicky things, but
Yeah, but that's what you want. You want
yeah.
people talking about your brand, talking about, wanting to be a part of it, wanting it to be a part of their world. I mean, it's like an adage as old as time that, like, advertising is not a welcome guest.
Mm-hmm.
And with social, everybody's scrolling 90 miles an hour. And if you're going to expect someone to stop and spend time with your brand, you sure as hell better be interesting
Mm-hmm.
and bring value to
Totally.
their life.
Totally. And another way you can bring value into somebody's life is by making them laugh and bringing some joy. And I think you've done a really good job of that in your career. I have a really good friend, Ken Bates, who, when I told him that I was coming here, he's younger in the industry. He was like, you have to ask Ashley about her comedy background, how she approaches humor. So thanks, Ken, for this question.
Oh, thanks, Ken. I appreciate
um,
that.
Can you tell us about your approach and some of the success that you found in this comedy advertising? Are you proud of this? Are you owning that? Or do you want to be known as something different?
Oh,
I don't know how that works.
that's a good question. I am proud of it.
Should be.
I I'm I think I tend to be like, maybe, and this probably goes against the definition of modesty, but it's that sort of like imposter syndrome, kind of thing, where it's like, well, I'm not that funny, I'm I just kind of like landed in some lucky positions and made some funny work along the way. But as it turns out, I guess that tends to be what I've been most successful at. And
Do you do any sort of like stand-up comedy or ghost writing on the side for comedians or anything like that?
No, I wish I did. That would be fun, but I don't. I let's see. I did do a little improv when I was living in New York. That was fun. And I went back when like Friendster and MySpace dropped.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself,
Let's do it.
but
Yeah.
I really loved like creating like fake accounts and making all of this like weird stuff on those things. Like, I had this one
Parody
account.
accounts?
Yeah, parody accounts. Like
Yeah.
this was back before
So you're a
parody.
MySpace influencer. It
I
sounds
was
like.
a
That's what I'm talking
MySpace
about.
influencer. It's kind of fun to look back at those days and remember like,
What was your account?
oh God, well, I had like one that was like mashed potato,
Yeah.
and it was just like from the point of view of like mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
It was super weird and stupid, super silly.
What were they saying and stuff?
Oh my God. Like, I think I was encouraging people to like, consider me for dinner. Just put it in your consideration set.
Consider me for dinner.
I don't know. I don't remember. That was like 20 years ago.
That's funny. I mean, I see some copywriters today that have kind of stood out via X or when it was Twitter, when I was breaking in, that writing, like getting your jokes out there, creating like parody accounts, like there's similarities there.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to hone your tone, your voice. Back in the day, I remember my partner would be like, if you just get off MySpace and do some work, then
you are working.
Yeah, but like that's what I was always defending. I'm like, but this is my work. This is my work. But here I am many years later, and I think that it probably was my work.
That kind of like writing style, like that social with your mashed potato account, that kind of like today, it's like you see brands on social that are doing a really good job with that are tweeting out funny stuff, like Steakums, I believe, comes top of mind. Wendy's comes top of mind. That they do historically a good job. Are there any accounts that you guys might be running on the back end, or some that you respect?
Yeah. I mean, we have some fun stuff that's starting to percolate. I think Miracle Grow is definitely one that is a really fun follow. I think the team has done a really great job. There's so much. I mean, then also you just find yourself like at the weird part of the internet sometimes where you're like, oh, how did I get here? I don't know.
You're like,
yeah.
Come out of it. Yeah.
I've been doing this for 3 hours.
What do they call that? It's like at nighttime when you're trying to, it's like revenge. You're revenge procrastinating. You ever heard that?
Oh,
you're trying to like get your day back because you're so busy.
Oh yeah.
So you like sabotage yourself at night or something like that.
I think revenge scrolling sounds.
Yeah. We got to
like
get a psychiatrist or something, a social psychiatrist, if that's a thing. But
yeah. I mean, I definitely do it. It's definitely a habit. I'm like, I didn't do anything today that I enjoyed. And now I'm just really going to scroll the hell out of
sabotage
out of TikTok right now.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Got it. So social, you said Miracle Grow, and what was the other one?
Unisom was what I was talking about. But we have social on like a lot of our accounts, and as as I'm looking at new hires, we're probably going to plug. We're probably going to be more and more prolific because.
Did you say that you were trying to integrate, and let me know if this is illegal, but did you say you were trying to integrate social within like the creative teams?
Yeah, 100%.
I love that.
We're looking. So I love social media management, which that's something that we've just recently brought into the creative department.
Often the creatives take that, like your art directors, copywriters, like they handle that well.
I mean, it's an interesting question. I think that there's different team dynamics. You can have an art director and a copywriter work on social. They probably need to be pretty clued in and tapped into what's going on in social. But you can also, and this is just, we're looking at like putting social media managers and content creators directly together so that, the output can be really fast and really witty and quick and get noticed. So the closer and faster we are with that, I think the better chances we have at, getting all the likes in the world.
Bring them on.
Yeah.
You said you might be hiring. I guess, what are some of those qualities you might be looking for?
Yeah. I mean, I look for, I was just reading about Nutter Butter, and Nutter Butter is really catching my attention. I look for people who have a strong point of view, who kind of like to instigate. So who are the instigators out there? If the work that they're showing about themselves really shows that they were like kind of stirred the pot and got people talking. For social media management, that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Specifically. Content creators, I want people who can uh, whatever needs to be done to make the idea come across in the shortest amount of time. That's what I want. People who are crafty and quick, and polish isn't necessarily holding them back. That's something that I think often happens in social. People get so caught up in the polish and the craft, and then they end up like losing the window. So
right.
It's fast. It's got to be super fast.
This is a much different dynamic than towards like art direction or traditional copywriting then. Am I correct on that? Or are you seeing parallels?
Yeah, I definitely see parallels. I just think that we're changing as a society and what we're taking in a bit. And that's not to say that, craft doesn't have a place in creative. It absolutely does, but we need both. And I think I see content creators as like leaning a little more visual, so kind of a parallel to art direction.
Sure.
Social media management tends to lean a little more strategic and copy.
Sure.
They are writing responses, and they're looking at brand positioning and where we could insert ourselves. So it's almost like you're taking a lot of roles and sort of creating a bit of a hybrid type team.
So there should be a content creator and then a social media manager.
That's what I think.
That's the combo.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always the case, but I like
that's
that.
A good one.
I like that model.
So strategy would be the manager, strategy, captions, like thinking about.
You're definitely going to need strategists, and you're going to need like
around the
creative
brand
director
platform, right?
Yeah. Well, and also like just to make sure that the responses that the team is turning out is feels like a social arm of the bigger brand strategy.
Got it. Yeah, you wouldn't just want them
running amok,
firing off on all.
Yeah,
could be interesting strategy.
It absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's you want a little bit of that. You want a little bit of that, but
it's like kind of calculated madness. And
calculated madness is a good way to put it.
Got it. And how did you get here? Is my question. Like, how did you break in to advertising?
Yeah.
When did you decide you wanted to make ads for a living?
That I decided at a very young age.
Really?
Yeah.
How does one go about?
Well,
and why?
That's a good question. My mom is the big answer there. Yeah. Back in the 80s, 90s, I think the Clios were televised.
No way.
Yeah, way. And my mom, she's a drama teacher. She was always like, she's into the spotlight a little bit. And I think she saw somehow like my responses, my sarcasm, things like that. I guess she thought, I think you'd be good at advertising. I'd love to see you up on that stage accepting an award.
There we go.
And so she sort of planted the seed, and I ended up trying to push it, like any good kid does. I didn't want to do what my mom thought I should do. But then I ended up in college, and it turns out I was actually kind of good at what she thought I would be good at. So I went to college for it, and then I went to the Creative Circus, and then I was working. I was putting myself through school, and I was working at a restaurant. Shout out to the Flying Biscuit, if anyone's listening.
Ooh.
And I was
Atlanta.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. This
was it good?
Oh God, it was good. Yeah, I was at the Candler Park location is where I was.
Now we're talking.
COG. And I was at the counter, and I was making a coffee, and I overheard some conversation around advertising, and then I heard the name Shia dropped, and I was like, huh. And it was in that moment that I was like, okay, I can go one of two ways. I can totally just continue to make this cappuccino, and I did make a really good cappuccino, but I decided to go the other way, which was to just fully insert myself into that conversation and say, hi, I'm Ashley.
Right.
Nice to meet you. I heard you say Chiat, and I would love to work at Chiat. Do you know anyone?
Nice. Do you send your portfolio?
Oh, I sent my portfolio to like a billion places.
Right.
And this was back when they were hard copies.
Of course.
And they were very expensive to make.
Yeah.
I went into serious debt sending my portfolio.
It's an investment.
It was. But anyway, this guy knew. He was like, if you're ever in San Francisco, come out. And he was awesome. I went out to see my friend in San Francisco. I met up with him, and then he had a friend who was like working in New York, and that was Angelique Marino. And she was starting up.
Angelique.
You know Angelique?
Yeah.
Yeah, small world, right?
Yeah.
She was starting up the Young Bloods. And she got my name, and so she reached out, and she was like, send me your book. So really, it was just
Young Bloods. I gotta talk to her about that.
Yeah, she was there when the Young Bloods started. And I was in the first group of Young Bloods.
And that's a creative cohort.
Yeah.
Through
Chiat
Day, LA.
It was New York. It started in New York.
Day, New York.
Yeah, and I started in New York, and that's where I was paired with Craig Allen, and then
love him.
He and I were working on Nextel, and we made some spots, and did anything we could to make good work and get noticed. And I think somewhere in one of those very late nights where we were working, Jerry Graff saw us and was like, "Hey, you want to work on this other Skittles brief?" And of course, we were like, "Hell yeah!" So we just worked our butts off, and we presented so much work, and it ended up being Scott and Ian's campaign that landed. But it was great being around them and kind of figuring out like the beginnings of a campaign. And
Scott
Vitrone, Ian Reichenthal.
Yeah, it's a great cohort right there.
Yeah,
so fun.
Yeah, I've had a lot of great influence in my career.
And I know we're running low on time. I want to kind of ask some questions. This final, maybe it seems like you surround yourself around great people. I think that's a really strong lesson. Like searching for these mentors, finding the right people. Like if you look at your career path, it's been so incredible. So I think that's huge for students. The lesson that I want to come across and see if you agree is instead of going for the big name, look for the people that are making the ads that you respect. And like Muse by Cleo, Little Black Book, these publications put the credits on their site, especially award shows if you have access to. So that's what I would do is hunt down the ads I like, find the people who made it, and then go connect with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they might be gone too. They might be at different spots and stuff. So it seems
track them down.
Yeah.
Flattery goes very far in this industry. If you like something that somebody's made, I would say like, I love this spot you did, or this thing you made. And I think if you can find like something that's even smaller, like maybe everybody knows the one thing that they did, but then
but
I would also recommend
stuff
going deeper into like a deep cut would be really, really impactful if you're
what would be your deep cut campaign?
Oh, my deep cut is a Pinterest campaign that we did for Old Spice, and it was with this team, Darcy. Oh God, I can't. Why am I doing this? I'm gonna go blank.
That's okay. So anyway, it's
Pinterest. And we made these fake Pinterest posts where we used Old Spice cans. The job was to appeal to moms, and we made all of this hilarious old arts and crafts out of Old Spice cans, and then just like with a straight face made all of those posts as if they were just totally real. And the people who got it were really like just sold on that because they were so insane and unhinged.
Love it.
Like make a hair tie out of an Old Spice can. And I loved that work because it was just appealing to the humor of a non-expected demographic, moms. Like that was great.
Love it. Well, then I have no further questions. I wanted to thank you for coming on again. And how can people reach out if they want to say hello or talk shop?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Ashley Davis Marshall. And then if you so choose, you can email my work email address. Is that crazy?
Yeah, do it. Crazy? I mean, it's too late. You already said it.
I already said it.
Yeah,
well,
I can't edit it out either.
God, geez.
get a lot of listeners.
What have I done?
Yeah, you're.
I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it to the audience to figure out how that goes. But it's not too hard.
We'll put the email right here. No, you got to get creative.
Yeah.
Hunt for it.
Yeah.
And then don't send, unfinished portfolios. Send your best stuff. We're talking to a pro here, one of the best in the business. So
yeah. I'm not one of the best, but thank you.
Boom. Cool. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful.